Welcome to High Level Selling, Frank Discussions, and Client Accountability. This is part of our eBit series. Our eBit series are tidbits of e-learning that helps give you a 20,000-foot overview of the subject matter. Certainly we have our e-webinars that are 60 to 90 minutes long, and our e-workshops, which are 1 day to multiple days in length. However, the eBit series is to give you that view so you can take your pertinent notes and help define a direction in which you need to go. So let's get started. The most effective sales individuals that we call high-level selling create a system where they have two-way accountability with the client, that they hold each other accountable. And they set this up through what we call the process. It starts with professionalism and technique, but it's balanced with courage and consideration. And in fact, the courage to speak to it, the ability on how they speak to it, and to get the client to understand it's truly for their consideration that a two-way accountability and frankness in discussion is important for the best results. Most salespersons err on consideration, where they need to focus a little more on courage, be forthright, and then have the ability to explain when they're questioned on, well, I'm not sure. Well, here's why it's important. In fact, the best salespeople gain permission to push back when obvious by giving the client the same ability. And we'll explain that as we move forward. They also need to understand that you can't continue being frank without adding value. So as a sales individual, you have to add value to the client. And at first, it's by your discussion, by how you come across professional, that they see credibility within your words and how you present yourself. But you're going to have to add value from that point forward. The understanding that the client needs to understand is that the concern is truly for their benefit and for their outcome. Ultimately, the process teaches that you are looking for the client's best interest in mind. Keywords and phrases. Why is this important? Well, here are 6 keywords and phrases that we provide, and there's more, but this is based on emotional intelligence. The human mind has 2 aspects in which an individual will hear as you speak. One aspect is what we call left brain, the amygdala. This is where they get defensive. This is where we get protective. This is where emotions are drawn from. So in the conversation, and especially if you're a salesperson, a lot of times people we're speaking to for the first time are a little conscious and apprehensive that they're thinking left brain. These 6 keywords and phrases, when you utilize them and you can mix them and use them together, help move them to what's called the frontal cortex. The frontal cortex is where logic and reason is derived from. And when you move an individual, the conversation to the frontal cortex, you have the better ability to have the results and build a stronger relationship from the very beginning. So let's review them. Simple words. I owe it to you. Out of respect for you. Because you're important to me. The last thing I would want to do. I know you're busy, as am I, and I think many of us have probably utilized that before. And one of the best ways I can assist you. Now, each of these are written that they have the client's best interest in mind. And that's how they're designed to be performed and spoken to. So we'll utilize these as we move forward. But it's conversation starters, and you can blend them within the conversation. But here's where we talk about reciprocal accountability. But that's what's important to us as sales individuals to build with the client. And it's built in a way that saves them time and saves us time. So that's where we need the ability on how to speak to it. Now, if you have clients that you've had for a while, you can certainly build this relationship, but you're gonna have to explain on why you want to put it forward now. The best time to have this conversation for any sales individual is at the very beginning when you're starting with a client, but it can be done with current clients if explained properly at the process. But when it's communicated at the beginning, we speak to the client and we tell them that, Mr. Client, I'd like to build reciprocal accountability because it's very important for me to make sure that I provide for you. So you can see it as you explain certain things, you're explaining it to why it's for their benefit, but then you ask for it to be reciprocal, and you'll see how that's explained as well. And this is where you define the scenarios. You explain the purpose and the benefit, and how two-way pushback brings better results, and that time is money for both parties. So remember the slide before on the 6 keywords and phrases, and I'll go through some examples. Role play. It's very important that you role play different scenarios, write them down. First time customer I've had for a while, but I want to start building that two-way accountability. All types of scenarios that you can role play. Here's a quick role play on how when I work with a new customer and we determine that we're going to move forward with the relationship, I have this conversation. Mr. Customer, now that we're going to move forward with these items, it's very important for me, and one of the best ways that I can help you is for us to have two-way accountability. Now, let me explain what that means. It's very important that I help define your exact needs, and in order to do so, I need you to have the ability to be frank with me, to question me, to dig deeper if you think I'm not giving you all the information. Please hold me accountable. But I ask that that be two-way as well. So at times, from our conversations, I need to be frank, open, and to push as well. But that's only for the betterment of getting you the exact solution you need. And in fact, out of respect for you, and because I know you're busy, as am I, it's really important that when we schedule for meetings, I'll come in on my side, that I'll be prepared. If there's things I'm supposed to bring to the meeting, I will have them, information, documents, whatever that may be. And I would ask that you do the same. And we will adhere to making our meetings the most effective possible, so everything is very transparent and moves forward. Certainly, in every attempt when we schedule meetings, we'll make them. We know that sometimes blips on the road happen, that we have to alter it, but I'll keep that to a minimal on my side. But as long as we can do this, we can build a great relationship, and I'm sure that you'll be very satisfied with us help defining your exact needs for execution and for your success. So what are the next steps? Well, always keep role playing. But let me read through this slide and then we'll discuss each one. Set the tone as early as possible. That's a given. Move away from the solution, and that's a technique that we'll talk about how that's used. Explain that you need the ability to be frank and why. And that's just not on the first conversation. At the times that you need to be frank, you might have to remind the client. Explain how accountability is important. More questions up front on the landscape. Deeper dive on industry and competitors, and in what gives the client a strategic advantage. So most clients are used to people rushing to the solution when they're dealing with salespeople. Here's what I have, $15.99, and in fact, I can give you 20% off today. Where the technique is really listen to them, ask deeper questions, and even when they try to go to the solution, say, well, let's move away from the solution for a moment so I can ask a few more questions that'll help me define your exact needs. And that goes down to number 4, more questions on the landscape. Let me ask you, what brought you here? What difficulties have you had? Why are you looking for this? What will it help you achieve? After you achieve that, what next? Because I know that you plan this success and then you already have the next thoughts in your head. That'll give me greater insight. What objectives are you trying to achieve? And this is where you say, well, this is where I need to be, the ability to be frank. Sometimes when you're talking with a client, they may tell you the dire need that they have, but then you really get a feeling that they're hesitating or they're not giving you all the answers. And in fact, Mahan Klasa, who wrote the book, Let's Get Real, Let's Not Play, has a great technique where he says, I'm concerned, I'm confused, and I think we might have a problem here. And then he quotes back to the client what they've told him previously. You told me that this was a dire need that you had, and if you didn't get it fixed, it will have these repercussions on your business. And I'm concerned and I'm confused because I don't feel that you're giving me all the information that will help me solve your problem. And that's important to me. So out of respect for you, I need to push back a little bit. And what else is there? Here is where I need better answers. And that's how he attacks it. It takes some technique, but you're really doing it for the client's best interest. We talk about a deeper dive on industry and competitors. Well, a lot of times, do we ask, let me define your industry. I have a good understanding, but who are your competitors? I can assume who they are, but who are your competitors? Because they might be different than what we think. But then when you could define a client strategic advantage over their competitors, and so I asked them, what gives you the strategic advantage over your competitors? When you could define your solution that helps enhance that strategic advantage, they truly become your partner. That is the good technique. So truly, this comes down to your ability to enhance your art of your conversation, because you need to be leading with courage, respectfully, have the ability to explain importance and benefit of frankness. You need to demonstrate the need to have the ability to push back. And that's where we say, the Mahan clause, I'm concerned, I'm confused. And when you could quote back things that they've told you, and then you feel that because you don't have the answers, it's being hindered, that gives you power. So that's where we say define examples of additional resource of information. That is where you always heard the term, I want to partner with you. Well, sometimes that's a little salesy, but a true partner says, Mr. Client, I have other clients like yourself, some in the same industry and some not in the same industry. However, they have a lot of the same problems. So please don't hesitate to utilize me as an additional resource of information on problems that you may be having, that I could say, yeah, I talked to Bank of America and they had the same thing and they did this. And that makes you more powerful and a partner of the client. Always be transparent in explaining two-way tie downs. So two-way tie downs are, okay, on this meeting, I will have these things, and then let's agree on what you'll have. Do we agree on that? Great. That's two ways. We're both agreeing to bring things back. A lot of the two-way tie downs are when you're starting to move towards, okay, I'm going to send you a proposal. One of the last things I want to do, and out of respect for you, I don't want to call you 100 times. So after I send you this proposal, what do you need to do? So I understand your approval process, and I'll document it. And when should we speak again? And what answers will I have when we speak again? Great. So it takes 3 days for your purchase order process, 2 days for accounting. So if we talk next Tuesday, you should have the answer, or you'll tell me at that time what might be hindering it. Correct? Great. And so it's not just calling back. It's not leaving voicemails. That it's very important that you have those two-way tie downs. And that's why I always tell the client, last thing I want to do is call you 100 times and leave you voicemails. If we can really understand your approval process, I will have a better understanding on when we need to speak and what we'll have ready on both sides. And then, we gain understanding and agreement on how we're moving forward. That's where the power is. So remember, the power to push back, just a summary, is built on the true concern of the client need. Set the tone professionally. Go over pre-discovered facts on client objective. Professionally review established problem areas. Reinforce implications validated by the client. And that's important that you pull out those implications so you can reinforce them. Define current situation and always ask for next steps. What do you see as the next step? Well, here are some other next steps that I recommend. We want to thank you for attending. If you'd like to email, our email is mark@markvillarreal.com. If you have questions about additional courses, you can send that to contact@markvillarreal.com. My website is markvillarreal.com. My phone number is listed there. And please subscribe to our YouTube, which this will be posted. But as we create new tidbits or other e-learnings or educational videos, you will be notified as well. So please, thank you very much and have a good day.